What happens if you combine two of my favourite games, Baldur's Gate 3 and Dark Souls? Well, you get Solaire. Now, unfortunately there is no costumes to make it look like Solaire, but this is my Solaire build for Baldur's Gate 3. We are going to do a level by level guide, a combat tutorial and a list of items that I think fit thematically for Solaire. And obviously there is going to be some creative liberty, and this isn't going to be a honor mode ready or like the most OP build. It's a fun build. So to start this off, we're jumping in and we're going to start with Paladin. Now Paladin gives us a bunch of proficiencies, heavy armor, shield, all good things we're going to use. Now for anyone that knows Solaire, he obviously has his sword, his shield, and when it comes to spells, he has lightning spells and healing spells. And he obviously praised the Sun Lord. And my takeaway from that, to make it fit this thematically, is going to be fire, and it's going to be lightning and heals. So, we're going to start with Paladin. Number 1, lay on hands. Use your blessed touch to heal a creature or cure it of all its diseases and poisons. Nice little healing spell. We have Divine Sense. Gain advantage on attack rolls against celestials, fiends, and undead. And considering we find Solaire in the undead parish, seems pretty fitting. 1, channel Oath Charge, Wisdom and Charisma saving throw proficiency, both very useful, as well as all the proficiencies we went over earlier. And when it comes to your subclass, we are going to do Oath of Devotion. What better way to praise the Sun Lord than to be devoted to them? So this gives us Holy Rebuke. Grant an ally a vengeful aura that deals 1 to 4 radiant damage to anyone who hits them with a melee attack. Now for your ability points, this is where it doesn't become the most OP build. The reason being is, for this to work fully, we have to spread ourselves really thin. We need strength to be able to wield our weapons properly. We need constitution for our health pool. We need wisdom, as this is what our cleric spells will be using, and we are multi-classing into cleric. And charisma, because obviously this is for our smites as a paladin. So I would try and keep something like this: 16 strength, 10 dexterity, 14 constitution, 9 intelligence, 13 wisdom. Unfortunately it's an odd number, not really much else I can do with it unless you want to balance out your intelligence and your wisdom becomes a +1, but I don't know, I like doing this personally. And 14 charisma. Now if you do want to respec later on and you want to use the Gauntlets of Hill Giant strength, that'll bump your strength up to 23. And then you could respec and you could easily change this to, say, wisdom, bump this all the way down to an 8, and you can sort of play around respecing a little bit like this, buffing your stats up as much as possible. But at this point we are going to continue with the build how we have it. And for your proficiencies we're going to take whatever we feel like. If you do want to stick with something that a Solaire would have, then I would personally probably take something such as medicine maybe for the healing, persuasion because he is a very charismatic person, athletics because he is a warrior through and through. Really make your pick based on what you think would fit Solaire, based on your perception of him. And that brings us very nicely to Paladin level 2, and this gives us access to our Divine Smite, and that's what this really is about. Imbuing your sword with radiant damage, which seems very on point for Solaire with his praise to Sun Lord, his lightning spears, his holiness, his lightning spears that he can throw around. I think Divine Smite fits very well. For a fighting style you have 2 options. You could either take defense, so you get a +1 bonus to armor class while wearing armor, or protection. When you have a shield, impose disadvantage on an attack against your allies when you are within 1.5 meters. It kind of depends on what your team setup is going to be. If you're going to have 2 frontliners, so maybe your Solaire and a Karlach, protection might be better. If Solaire is going to be your big frontline tank, and you're going to have a ranger, a rogue, and a wizard, then go with defense. Me personally, I'm going to go with defense. And for your spells, we're going to start with Searing Smite. So this is a smite that does fire damage. Cure Wounds to go alongside our healing word that we will eventually take. We're going to have Wrathful Smite, and we're going to take Thunderous Smite. So we have a bunch of different smite options we could tap into. This would kind of be like if Solaire decided to put the greases on that you can get in, or the resins I guess it is in Dark Souls, that you can put on your weapons to imbue them, similar to that. Okay, at level 3 we are sticking with Paladin. This now gives us Divine Health, so the Divine Magic flowing within you prevents disease from affecting you, as well as a bunch of new options here such as Sanctuary, Protection from Good and Evil, Turn the Unholy, and Sacred Weapon. And the Sacred Weapon is really good, a Channel Oath charge. Turn your weapon into a Sacred Weapon, has a higher chance of hitting and emits a bright light. And that is great to tap into, especially for a Solaire type build. And for a spell, at this point we are going to come in here and we're going to take Shield of Faith, because I think this is a very good spell that a Solaire type character would have, because you imbue yourself with protective power from your divine being, therefore gaining a +2 to your armor class. At Paladin level 4, we have an extra Lay on Hands charge and a new feat. And for this, if you are not going to respec, then do not put your ASI into Strength. Put it into Charisma for your smites, maybe Wisdom for your cleric spells. For me, I am going to put it into Strength though, because I will not be respecking. I'm saving my Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength for a different character in this build. But if you want to put it on this one, then don't worry about your Strength. Put it into Charisma for your smites. If you really wanted to, you could come all the way down here, and you could take something like Shield Master if you really wanted to. Savage Attack would be a really good one as well. But for me, we're going to play it safe, and we're going to take the ASIs. So ASI 18. And then for another spell at this level, we're going to take Bless. Bless up to 3 creatures. They're going to have 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. And then Paladin level 5 is what we have been aiming for, because we want that extra attack. This also gives us access to another spell, and we're going to get rid of Command. And for this one, we're going to take Aid. Heal your allies, increase their hit point maximum by 5 hit points. You can cast as soon as you've rested, and it lasts until another long rest. Now it is at level 6 that we dip over to our Cleric, and you can probably guess where we're going with this. We are going with a Light Cleric. So for our spells, we're going to start with a few really good options, and that is Produce Flame. A flame in your hand sheds a light in a 9 meter radius and deals 1 to 8 fire damage when thrown. This lasts until long rest 2. I'm going to take Guidance, because this is just a great ability to have, especially if this is going to be your main Tav. And Sacred Flame. Engulf a target in a flame-like radiance, 2 to 16 damage. And as I said, we are going to be a light domain, because praise the Sun Lord, what else would we take? Obviously light domain. This gives us light as a cantrip, it gives us burning hands, and it gives us fairy fire. But more importantly, warding flare. Shield yourself with divine light. Use your reaction to impose disadvantage on an attacker, possibly causing their attack to miss. Really nice way of tanking ourselves up. Now for a deity, take whoever you feel like. To be honest, it doesn't make too much of a difference. For this one, let's just take Talos. And for healing spells, oh sorry, not healing spells, for spells at this level, we're going to take Healing Word to go alongside our Lay on Hands and our Cure Wounds. And we're going to take Protection from Good and Evil. These feel very much like spells or abilities that Solaire would have in Dark Souls. At level 7 we stick with Cleric, and we're taking Cleric all the way till the end of level 12 now. So Cleric level 2, a Channel Divinity charge. We get Turn Undead, so pray to turn all undead that you can see, and Radiance of Dawn. Channel Divinity charge, 7 to 25 damage. The sun's divine power dispels any magical darkness. Doesn't affect creatures that have total cover from you. An amazing spell to help you see, remove any spells of darkness, and deal some big damage. And for a spell at this point, we are going to take Guiding Bolt. This is going to be thematically kind of like our Lightning Spear spell that Solaire has in Dark Souls 1. Not quite a spear, not quite lightning, but it's about as close as you can get in this multi-class. Okay, Cleric level 3, we have now access to our level 3 spell slots, as well as a bunch of new spells, such as Scorching Ray, Flaming Sphere, things as well that we can now choose from this list. So as we go into our spell list, the next one we are going to take is the Prayer of Healing. I think this goes without saying, thematically this fits Solaire perfectly. Okay, Cleric level 4, we have access to another feat. First of all though, we're going to take a cantrip, and for this one, we'll take Blade Ward. And for your ASI here, I would personally bump Charisma up to 16 to help us with our smite damage. And for a spell at this level, Protection from Poison. Okay, Cleric level 5 gives us access to Destroy Undead. So when you successfully turn an undead creature, it also takes 4 to 24 radiant damage. And loads of options we can now choose for spells if we choose to, but we get things such as Fireball, as well as Daylight. We already know this, but it's another version of it essentially. And for a spell at this point, we are going to take Glyph of Warding, one of my favourite spells in the game. Place a glyph down, and then when an enemy runs into it, it will trigger the type of damage you do, including fire or lightning, or thunder I believe it is. Now, for me personally, the way I like using this is if you place it down on a big group of enemies, at the end of your turn it will trigger. You haven't got to wait for anyone to run into it. So you can essentially use this like a big AoE nuke, and it's amazing. Get to choose your damage type, perfect spell. Okay, Cleric level 6, we now have Improved Warding Flare. So when an enemy attacks an ally, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage. So now you can use it on an ally and yourself, as well as an extra channel divinity charge. Now for a spell at this point, we are going to take Mass Healing Word. You could take Spirit Guardians if you want to. I'm not sure it quite fits thematically. Obviously it would be a better option in my opinion. But if you want to be a bit more on theme and not quite as strong as you could be, then I would stick with Healing Word. You could probably also even take Beacon of Hope. To be honest, it kind of depends on how rigid you want to be when doing this build. Obviously, it's your build. You have as much creative liberty as you want. There's already creative liberty in this build because we can't make Solaire fully. And finally, Cleric level 7 to give us access to that level 5 spell slot. You could, if you want to, do Paladin level 6. You'd end up with Aura of Protection. You'd have 1 extra HP. Honestly, pick whatever you want. I'm personally just going with Cleric because I prefer Cleric. And for a spell here, I would take Revivify. Okay, so that was our build levels 1 to 12. Now let's go over our gear. So first up, Savarok's Horned Helmet. This not only gives us dark vision, up to a range of 3 meters, or 15 if we already have it, it reduces our critical number by 1 down to 19. It also gives us Dauntless, so you can't be frightened, which I think is amazing for Solaire because he is a tough son of a gun, and a Constitution saving throw +1. The Cindermouth Cloak. A creature that damages the wearer within 2 meters receives Burning, tapping back into this fire and the sun, just sticking with the theme. For boots, I like the boots of Genial Striding, and it just basically means we're not impeded by difficult terrain, and as a frontliner, I think that's very important to get us to the front. For armour, the Flawed Helldusk Armour. When you hit by a foe within 2 meters, it might take 1 to 4 fire damage. Again, goes alongside the cloak. Take 1 less piercing damage. We do have disadvantage on stealth checks though. The Helldusk Gloves. You get a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls and spell save DCs, helps us with our concentration. Infernal Touch. Your weapon attacks deal an additional 1 to 6 fire damage. Unarmed attacks deal 1 to 6 necrotic, and we can possibly inflict bleeding and a strength saving throw +1. The Ring of Regeneration. At the start of our turn, we regen 1 to 4 hit points, just helping us tank out more. The Shifting Corpus Ring. The reason I've taken this is for Blur, just to help us be more tanky, and in my opinion, if we were going to have a theme built around light and the Sun Lord, what better way than having Blur? It's almost like the people or the enemies can't see through how bright the sun is, that divine holy magic. And the Moondrop Pendant. When the wearer has 50% hit points or less, they don't provoke opportunity attacks. I really like this, especially with a soul melee or tank character, because it means if you do start getting to a pickle, you can just run away. You don't have to worry about those opportunity attacks and possibly getting critted or knocked out. For a sword, I really like the Blackguard Sword. Dazing Smite. On a hit infused with one of your smites, the target must succeed a Constitution saving throw or become dazed. Really ties into our Paladin abilities. And as you can see, we have an extra 1d4 necrotic and an extra 1d6 fire, which means overall 9 to 24 possible damage. And we're pairing this with the Absolute's Protector. Now, there are better shields that give more AC, but Fire Shield Chill, I really like the option that this gives us as a way of tanking ourselves out. And obviously, if you wanted to swap the armors here for the Helldusk armor, you could. It'll give you things like fly, all sorts of options like that. But I wanted to give you an option that doesn't just rely on the top armor. But if you wanted to swap that out for the Helldusk armor, and the Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength, go for it. I would not recommend not doing that. Again, this build is a fun build. Play it the way you want to. Play it how you feel fit. Don't worry about being meta or min-maxing. Just have fun putting a character from a different universe into Baldur's Gate. So let's go find some combat and we'll show this build off. Okay, so we're in combat, and as you can see, the enemy is about to attack Shadowheart, so we can immediately start with our improved warding flare. Now, unfortunately, it did still hit, which is a shame, but we had the option of doing it. And there you go, first big miss. Now, unfortunately, it did just crit us. And this enemy has gone invisible. You can see the enemy that hit us is burning thanks to our cloak. And it's time for us to start doing some damage. So, let's start, very obviously, first of all, with our smite. And we'll start with a level 5 smite. And there you go, we did a huge amount of damage, and the enemy is now dazed. Now, if we come to the dazed ability, come all the way down here, has disadvantage on wisdom saving throws, can't take reactions, and loses the dexterity bonus to that armor class. As well as burning 1 to 4 fire damage per turn. And because we have done that, what we can do is we can continue with our extra attack, and in this one we'll just do a standard attack so you can see the damage output. And there you go. Now that does still leave you your bonus action, so if you wanted to, you could do a pommel strike. We are going to do a Shield of Faith. We'll do it at level 1 because it doesn't matter what level you cast it as, they're all the same. So let's do a level 1 spell slot on ourselves. And obviously if we lose concentration it will disappear, but for now we have a Shield of Faith. And there you go, already come into play with a big miss. And another warding flare, and this time we've ensured that your hero was not hit. And unfortunately they do get 2 attacks, but we dodged the first one. And there you go, huge 4 damage, the maximum we could have got on the burn. Okay, so as you saw, we did lose our ability, or sorry, our Shield of Faith, but we have a plethora of abilities here that we can still do. We have things like Blur, another Shield of Faith, Sanctuary, we have all of these as well. Now, what I want to do is I want to show off some really good abilities. And again, if we want to do a spell, we have loads of spell slots, so that's not really a disadvantage here. But if we do a spell, we're going to do 1 attack. So for now, we'll do 1 standard to kill that enemy. And then let's come up here. And on this enemy, let's now do a Searing Smite. And we'll upcast it to 4th level. And there you go. And now they have also received the Burning status. Okay, once again, you can see we healed a bunch of hit points. And we're in a situation where we can heal Shadowheart. So first of all, let's kill this enemy. And again, we'll just start with a Dying Smite. We'll do a level 2 one this time. And there you go, a huge crit at a level 2. And if we wanted to, we could now click here to help out. We could attack again. Unfortunately, we do not have any bonus heals, or sorry, bonus action heals. So what we're going to do is we're going to just waste the end of our turn. And we're going to use Jihera just to pull aggro so I can, or sorry, my Dengs. I got the turn order confused. We can use Dengs just to pull some aggro, just so I can show off some abilities we can do with our Solaire. Okay, so we are going to use our whole turn here, but we're going to use Lay on Hands. Now, we can do a whole bunch of stuff. We can do lesser healing, we can do cure, greater healing. For this, let's do some greater healing. And there you go, we've used our Paladin ability to heal up Shadowheart. And what we'll do, because unfortunately we now can't attack, we only have these ones, we'll do another Shield of Faith on ourselves at level 1. Help ourselves tank out, and we'll start closing the distance to these guys.
The gods are watching me.
And there you go, they finally attacked us, so we can use our own warding flare as a reaction. Now unfortunately they did hit, but we've made both our concentration saves, so we've kept our Shield of Faith. Now for most of these fights I have just been skipping everyone's turn. Obviously this fight would go a lot better if you are using your people to attack. I'm not. Okay, what we're going to do now, we are going to do our Paladin ability, and it's going to use our Channel Oath again but we're going to do a Sacred Weapon. And it's a great ability that the Light Domain has, and then we're going to start closing the gap on this target here. You can also see we have got a Flame in our hand. Now unfortunately we have no other options here that we can't do yet. We can't throw it yet because it needs an action and all sorts, but we could for example do a Sanctuary, a Pommel Strike, Divine Sense. So let's just do a Pommel Strike as a bonus action. And look at the huge amount of damage we just did with a very basic Pommel Strike. And again, 2 big misses. Now the enemy's just made that character invisible, and we do have a way around that. After a massive attack. Now theoretically in these fights you are just going to be doing smites a lot, because we have the spell slots. I'm just trying to show off different abilities we have. Again, another big miss. And there you go, we have another person now invisible.
Where do I go from here?
So, to counteract that, we have a lovely spell called Fairy Fire. Cast it at level 1. And there you go, we can now see this one, and that one has now reappeared. Now unfortunately it did break our concentration, as we're now concentrating on Fairy Fire, but that's okay, because we've opened up the way of seeing enemies. Now as you can see, we can heal ourselves up using another Lay on Hands charge.
Easy.
And now it's time to finish the fight. So first of all, we can come up here, standard attack, just like that to save our spell slots. And then we'll close the gap here, and we're going to do a huge Divine Smite at 4th level. And we've got another dazed ability thanks to our sword. If we then so wanted to, we could try pushing an enemy, such as this one. And there you go, 2 more extra damage with a bonus attack. Okay, and that's the gist of this build. A nice easy way of just smiting people hard with Radiant and Fire. Solaire to a T. Now, we've used all our spell slots on purpose, as well as our Lay on Hand charges, Channel Oath. I just want to show you, if you come in here, Short Rest, they do not return. The only thing that returns is your 1 Channel Oath charge. So bear that in mind, if you are out on a long adventure, use your smites sparingly. Focus on your main attacks, or save your spell slots purely for the smites and don't worry about your other abilities. And really pick and choose your warding flares. But that is my Solaire build for Baldur's Gate 3. Again, not the most powerful, not the most meta, not the most min-maxed. This is very much just a fun, thematic build you can employ. If you want to make it even more powerful, again, use the Helldusk armor. Take your strength points and your ASIs and put them into other areas. Use your ASIs into other things instead of the one into strength. Maybe take things like Savage Attacker. Really play around. Really look at what your gear options are and what you want your Solaire build to really look like. So if you've enjoyed, please drop us a like. It helps me amazingly. If you're new and not subscribed, if you'd like to, that'd also be amazing. Hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.